Good morning. My name is Matt Russell, and my pronouns are he, him, and I am a member of the Ministerial Search Committee. If you are here for the first time, thank you for joining us. We look forward to getting to know you. We invite everyone present in the sanctuary today to join us for the in-person coffee hour afterwards, as well as there is a pitch-in that you're welcome to stay for. Whether you brought food or not, doesn't matter. Please share with us your time, and there's more than enough food always. During the service, there is time for sharing the joys and sorrows of our lives with one another. Now, there are cards for writing that down here near the entrance, and we ask that you pick them up and fill them out prior to that part of the service. So, in Unitarian Universalism, justice is one of our core values, and we work to become a diverse, multicultural, beloved community where all thrive. We covenant to dismantle racism and all forms of systemic oppression, and support the use of inclusive, democratic processes to make decisions within our congregation and within the UU Association and the society at large. We're really glad that you are here today with us. We hope that you find this service inspiring and meaningful.
Good morning. My name is Maria Madar, and my pronouns are she and her, and I'm honored to serve our congregation today as worship associate. A lit chalice is the symbol of our tradition, serving as a beacon of hope. Today, Judy Pleiss will help us light our chalice. As we light our chalice in the sanctuary, I invite those on Zoom to light a chalice or a candle and to type your location in the chat. Our chalice lighting and opening words today are by Karen G. Johnston. Ancestors who spoke with bravest fire, lend us your senses that we may know another world is on her way. Breathed into life with our participation in her creation. Forebears who led the way where there was at first no way, lend us your persistence, your temerity, your assurance that the moral arc of the universe does indeed bend towards justice. Ones who went before us, sacrificing for a future not your own, help us to give of ourselves that the common stones in our hands today might be cathedrals of compassion today, halls of restorative justice tomorrow, sheltering walls of beloved community the day after. Excuse me. It is Sunday morning, the day we gather. Let us be thankful and full of praise to be in the company of those who came before, yet are ever in our midst.
Please rise and body your spirit as we join together singing hymn 362, Rise Up, O Flame. This is going to be sung as a round. So we're going to sing it 4 times all together, once all together, no round, and then 3 times through as a round. This will be my part 1 over here. This will be my part 2 over here. I will be leading part 1. Dawn will get part 2. Again, once through all together, and then we'll divide into a round. Rise up, O flame, by thy light glowing, show to us beauty, vision, and joy. Rise up, O flame, rise up, O flame, unto us glory, show to us joy. Rise up, O flame, rise up, O flame, unto us glory, show to us joy. Rise up, O flame, rise up, O flame, unto us glory, show
Would you please now join me in saying our covenant, which is on the screen and also in your bulletin. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. This is our covenant. And now let's say our covenant in Spanish. El amor es el espíritu de esta iglesia, y el servicio es su ley. Vivir juntos en paz, buscar la verdad en el amor, y ayudarnos unos a otros. Este es nuestro pacto. Please be seated. Our congregation is a lively community with many opportunities to participate. Here are a few announcements for today, but please check your order of service for more. Although the transition team's Visioning with Love discussion sessions are over, you still have an opportunity to share your thoughts with the team. Whether you were able to attend a session or not, there is a form available where you can share comments or general feedback about the draft mission and vision statements. An email was sent to the congregation on April 7th with a link to the form, and the link was posted in the general channel in Slack on April 8th. The feedback form will be available until midnight on Tuesday. Thank you.
Part of the way that we live our covenant to help one another is through sharing our lives with one another, sharing the joys and sorrows that we are experiencing and those milestones and events in the cycle of life that have deep meaning for us. As the music plays in just a moment, I invite people in the sanctuary to come up and drop a stone into the bowl if something is on your heart today. You're able to use both sides of the table. If you've written your joy or sorrow on a card, please leave it in a basket that is on the table, and I will read it out loud. Please note that the cards are by the entrance to the sanctuary for easy pickup when you come in. And for those of you who are on Zoom, we invite you to use the chat feature. Please put in all caps either joy or sorrow, plus your name and pronouns at the beginning of what you are sharing as a signal that you would like me to read it out loud here in the sanctuary. You can also symbolically drop a stone into the bowl by typing drop stone or just DS into the chat. Let us share the joys and sorrows with one another. We are a buzzing community this morning, aren't we? Do you feel all the energy? These are the joys, mostly joys, that were shared today. Sharon shares the joy that she was able to spend time in Nashville, Tennessee, although that is also tinged with sorrow due to missing today's service. And she sends love to all. Thank you. Alice shares the joy that she gets to celebrate Passover with her best friend. Savvy shares the joy that she joined the church D&D group on Friday. Did you know we have a D&D group? Game nights on Fridays too? Very fun. Luca shares the joy that they went to breakfast and played a chess game with their dad. Luca lost, but they say they are getting better. Daphne shares the joy that she got her driver's permit yesterday, which is both exciting and terrifying. She says, I'm not saying that. Not my comment. William shares the joy that it was his dad's birthday yesterday, and shares that we got to see him sing in the choir. They had birthday cake this morning. Jean shares both a joy and a sorrow that her sister's eldest son has been released from a mental hospital to a halfway house. This is progress, Jean says, with his debilitating anxiety. Lydia shares the joy that she doesn't need to go to school and gets to play with her brother. Priorities. Catherine shares the joy that she's very excited that they are getting grass put in their yard. Finn shares the joy that he finally got CubeCraft to load on his Nana's iPad, and he enjoyed being there. And Stacy shares the joy that Kate made her a tiny emergency gnomes to thank her for the pledge drive. Emergency gnomes. That's a new one for me. Though they may not be shared this morning, we know there are many more joys and sorrows that remain in our hearts and on our minds. Let us pause now for a moment of prayer and meditation. Spirit of life and love, that which brings us together and bids us do the hard work of building community. Be with us in these stressful times. Help us to remember that we are all struggling with difficulties shared or unshared, seen or unseen. And help us to treat one another's tenderness with kindness and care. When we have caused harm, help us to seek forgiveness. When we have been harmed, help us find comfort and healing. Because we need one another in times such as these, and because we covenant to help one another, and because this world needs us, and service is a part of our covenant as well. With hope and gratitude and conviction, amen, and blessed be.
Sing in my heart. Good morning. That was so beautiful. Y'all sound strong today. We're going to live dangerously, and I'm going to use my phone instead of paper. So if it goes extremely poorly, Nick, I'll hop on the pulpit mic. So this is a time when folks of all ages who like to get up front and see the slides are welcome to come and join us on the floor or in an open chair that is closer than the chair that you're in. It's really your call. Hi, guys. How are you? I'm excited about all this grass and spring break and all of it. It just sounds awesome. So, I have got a lot of slides today because we are going back in time. I want to tell y'all a story about a family who were Unitarians and lived near Boston, which does not sound like a hot take. Boston is where our headquarters are for our whole denomination. So there's a lot of Unitarians in Boston, y'all. But this is a story about a more dangerous time. And two people who were just, a mom and a dad, like a lot of moms and dads in here today, who did some really brave deeds. And so our story begins in 1939, before the Second World War. And Europe was becoming a more and more dangerous place. And Germany had just taken over part of the country of Czechoslovakia, which is not what we call it anymore, but we used to call it Czechoslovakia, and it's that gray part up there. And if you see how part of the gray is yellow, that's the part that they took over. Some of my family is from Czechoslovakia, actually. And they would keep on taking over more and more countries that did not belong to them. Now, the people that we're telling about in this story were named Waitstill and Martha Sharp. And I think Waitstill is a really cool name. I've never heard that name before or since. And Waitstill was a minister in Wellesley, Massachusetts. So really far away from where this was happening. And Martha had trained as a social worker at a really famous place called Hull House. It was like a community center in Chicago that helped immigrants and helped people living in poverty and was pretty ahead of its time. I see you, Avery, but I got to keep going for a minute because this is not a short story today. So I want to show you guys, this is what Wellesley looked like back at the time. The remote is on, but is not cooperating, so I may need a little bit of help here, friends. If you can advance it for me. Thank you. So that's what Wellesley looked like. And then if you can flip to the next slide, this is what Waitstill and Martha looked like back then. Okay? So again, just a mom and a dad. You will notice they are not wearing superhero gear in this image, right? They're just a mom and a dad. So one night, their phone rang. And it's really important to this story to note that it did not look like the phones that we have today that I've got in my hand, right? It was an old rotary phone that looked, I think we need to flip one more. There we go. All right, so if you like watching old movies or you remember this phone, can you help me with how it sounds? It goes like this. It goes, bring, 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 bring. So this is the sound they heard in the middle of the night in their house. And they had to jump up, and Waitstill answered the phone, and he said, hello. And the person on the other end said, Mr. Sharp, this is the American Unitarian Association. Remember, back then, Unitarians and Universalists were separate. They weren't one church yet. And they said, we are very concerned about the safety of these people in Czechoslovakia because some of them are Jewish people that we know the Germans are being cruel to, and some of them are people who've spoken up against the German people and criticized them, and we need to help them get out of there and get to a safe place. Would you two please come and help? And Waitstill said, well, we have two little kids. We can't just go off to Europe and go do something dangerous. Can't you ask somebody else? And you know what they said? They said, we have already asked 17 other people, and they have all said no. And you are kind of our last hope. So Waitstill and Martha talked it over, and they decided to ask friends of theirs to come in and stay with their kids. And they decided that they would go to Czechoslovakia. And they first went on a big ship, kind of like this. Because you didn't fly to Europe back then if you were just an average person. You had to go on a boat. And they went across to London where they met people who would help them. And then they went to Prague, which is the capital of Czechoslovakia. And back then, it kind of looked like this. It's still a really beautiful city. But when the Germans came in, it started to look like this. Big old tanks rolling right through town. Now, the Unitarian Church in Prague was a center where people would come to find help. So a lot of people wanted to leave Czechoslovakia because, like, obviously they were scared. There were tanks rolling through their towns. And if they had an invitation to go to school in another country or go to work in another country, sometimes they could still leave, right? But they still needed people to help them with the paperwork. And sometimes they needed help with money to be able to afford to go. And so that's what Waitstill and Martha were doing at first, was just helping them get those things done, right? But sometimes they had to take risks to help someone. And right around this time, the Germans started to take over not just that little yellow lemon slice, but the whole country. And Martha and Waitstill learned that one of the Czech leaders who was kind of trying to fight back against the Germans was hiding nearby at a certain address and like really needed to go and get out. So one snowy evening, Martha took a taxi there. And she snuck past police, and she snuck up to the apartment door, and she knocked on the door, and this lady opened the door and said, "Who are you?" And Martha said, "I'm looking for Mr. X," because like we still don't know the person's name because they had to keep that secret, right? She said, "I'm looking for Mr. X." And the woman said, "Well, I never heard of him." And Martha said, "Please, we don't have much time. Here's my passport. You can see it. I'm an American person. It really is okay to let him talk to me." And the woman grabbed her passport and shut the door. And she was like, oh my gosh, because her passport was what identified her as American. It was what kept her safe. It was what was going to help her get out of the country if she needed to leave. And she was like, what if this person just took my passport and she never comes back? But then the door opened again. And this time there was a man there. And she said to the man, "Are you Mr. X?" And he said, "Well, I can give him a message." And she said, "Well, I want to take him to the British embassy where they can help smuggle him out of the country." And he said, "I'm Mr. X." And he gave her the passport back, thank goodness, right? And they went downstairs together. And this is what she did. As they snuck across the city, one Nazi officer tried to stop her, and she waved her passport, and she said, "We're Americans." And they were like, "Oh, okay." And she kept on going. And then she did the same thing with another person. And then as she started to get close to the embassy, she and Mr. X, another person tried to stop her. And she said, "Can you believe there are not any taxis around here? We've had to walk this whole way. My husband and I have an appointment." And they were like, "Oh, she's a bratty American," right? And they let her go. Now, Mr. X was not her husband, right? She was just pretending. And this is what Waitstill used to do too. If they needed to get someone out who was female, he would go and he would take his passport and pretend to be her husband. And in doing this, they were able to sneak a lot of people back to safety and to help get them out. All right. So they couldn't keep records of all the people they saved, but we know that they helped hundreds of people. If you look around, there are probably a couple hundred people in this room right now. Imagine every single one of those people being someone that the Sharps helped to get out of a dangerous place. And then, of course, after a while, the Germans became suspicious of them. So Waitstill went away to a conference in another country, and when he tried to get back in, he couldn't. And Martha got really worried, and she ended up sneaking out because she heard that they were trying to find her to arrest her. So she was able to sneak away from Germany just in time. So if we can try to advance one more slide and see where we're at, because I have not been paying good attention. This is a picture of them and their kids just a few years later after they got back. And this is a really important story for UUs to know, and that was why I wanted you to see the picture of them with their kids, right? Because how many of you would be like super excited if your parents were like, "You're gonna stay with some friends, I promise it'll be okay," and then they went to a really dangerous place? I would freak out. I would be very worried. So the kids were being very brave too. And I think that that's really important. I think they really probably missed them and were worried about them. And also, we kind of skipped over it earlier, but their son, he looks like really anxious to me in every picture. So I think if you flip it one more, there's a picture of him with Waitstill. See, he's smiling. So he went on to be less worried, I think. And the Sharps and 5 other Unitarians created a really special organization called the Unitarian Service Committee. And it went around the world doing work like this, helping people get to safety when they were in dangerous places during wars and this kind of thing. And now today, of course, now that we've combined with the Universalist Church, we call it the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee. But there are stickers for Mailbox Ministry today that are the old school image, the logo, the chalice logo that they first used back when they were the Unitarian Service Committee. And you guys can stick those on things and remember, put them where you'll see them, so you can remember what the Sharps did and how they became the helpers. And you elementary folks are going to learn more about that flaming chalice symbol today in RE, as a matter of fact. So let us sing our way there and think of the Sharps.
May your mind be open to new learning. May your lips bring truth into the world. May your heart know love and your hands do the work of justice as you go your way in peace. As you go your way in peace. May your mind be open to new learning. May your lips bring truth into the world. May your heart know love and your hands do the work of justice as you go your way in peace. As you go your way in peace.
There's just a buzz everywhere. So each week here at UUI, we light our chalice along with 1,000 Unitarian Universalist congregations from here in Indianapolis to small fellowships in rural towns, in sanctuaries across the world. Sometimes the chalice is lit with reverence, and sometimes it's lit with laughter. Sometimes it's lit by a child, others by an adult, sometimes by families. Sometimes it's lit with words, and other times it is lit in silence. Here at UUI, since I've been here at least, we introduce the chalice lighting by saying, a lit chalice is the symbol of our tradition, serving as a beacon of hope. And while it is true that the chalice is a symbol of our faith as Unitarian Universalists, hope is not the only thing that it should inspire. And if that's all we see when we light the chalice, if all we see is just a soft, comforting, hopeful glow, then we risk forgetting the fire that it comes from, the risk, the resistance, the reason that this important symbol was created. So, where did this tradition come from? As we heard just a moment ago, it began with refugees, with forged documents, with people in danger and others risking everything to try to save them. As you heard, in 1939, the American Unitarian Association reached out to Reverend Waitstill Sharp and asked him to go to Europe. He was the 17th or 18th person that they asked. And all the others had been afraid, rightly, that war was coming and they didn't want to be in danger. But Waitstill and his wife Martha said yes, even though the yes came at great cost to their family. They left their young children and boarded a ship to Europe. They stepped into a future that they could not predict, with danger mounting every day. They were given courses in how to make memos that would not be easily deciphered. They were given courses in how to memorize key words and important data, and in how to tell if they were being followed. In Prague, they worked alongside the Reverend Norbert Čapek and the Unitarian congregation there. Čapek, who created the flower communion that many UU congregations still celebrate, and we will in a few weeks, would later be arrested by the Gestapo and taken to Dachau, where he was tortured and killed. But that was still to come. When the Sharps arrived in 1939, Prague was in crisis. The borders were about to fall. Refugees were flooding out, desperate for documents, for money, and any possible way out. The Sharps filled an important vacuum. They ran a clandestine operation out of the Unitarian Church, working under surveillance. Their mail was watched by the Gestapo. Their apartment was repeatedly searched, but still, they helped people escape. Jewish intellectuals, dissidents, journalists, children. Sometimes they smuggled letters, sometimes they smuggled people, and each time they risked arrest, torture, and even death. And it took a toll. Their marriage strained under the pressure. They changed, they suffered, but they kept going. Martha would later say, "Every life we touched had its own drama. One can only manage a miracle every so often, but a series of miracles can happen when many people become concerned and are willing to act at the right time." The Sharps' story is aptly told in the Ken Burns documentary, Defying the Nazis, The Sharps War, from 2016. It's available on streaming platforms in case you want to watch it and dig deeper into this story. In the middle of this whirlwind that the Sharps were caught up in, the Unitarian Service Committee in Boston needed a symbol. They needed a way for the refugees to recognize them, to trust that the person who was offering help was legitimate. It needed to be subtle, unmistakable, and transportable. Austrian refugee artist Hans Deutsch created it, a simple chalice with a flame. It was stamped on documents, sewn into armbands, embossed into papers that meant the difference between escape and imprisonment. That, beloveds, is how the first chalice was lit. Not on an altar, but in war. Not to comfort the faithful, but to save lives. This is our lineage. This is our story. As Unitarian Universalists, we inherit not just the flame, but the fight as well. The chalice was created to protect people targeted by fascism. And now, we are again living in a time when fascism is not a distant threat, it is rising. Fascism, a far-right form of government where most of the country's power is held by one ruler or a small group. It's centered around extreme nationalism, militarism, and the placement of elite interests above those of the average citizen. This time, beloveds, the war is not against Jews in Europe. It's against immigrants and people from other countries who have built their lives here in the United States. Some for generations. It's against Black and brown people in our cities. It's against veterans. The budget for the staffing for the VA has been slashed, de-staffing the suicide hotline and making it harder for veterans to access important health care. This time, the war is on our soil, and it's a war against trans people, especially youth. This week, the Indiana Senate passed a bill that bans transgender athletes from participating in collegiate athletics. It was based on a similar bill passed in 2022, which banned transgender girls from participating in K-12 sports. Beloveds, there are fewer than 100 trans athletes who compete at the college level around the country. And this is what they are focusing on? Meanwhile, the passports of transgender people are being confiscated, leaving them unable to flee the country if they need to. And this also potentially removes their ability to register to vote, because this week also saw the passage of the SAVE Act in the House. This bill is supposed to ensure election integrity, but would really create barriers to registering to vote. including for anyone who has changed their name after birth, because this bill requires potential voters who don't have a passport to present a birth certificate that matches their real ID or driver's license. This is problematic for trans folks who have had their passports revoked due to gender marker issues. And it is additionally problematic for married women who legally changed their name after marriage but don't have a passport or $130 to get one. Disenfranchisement, anyone? Meanwhile, history is being erased with the removal from government websites of important history such as the Navajo Code Talkers and Tuskegee Airmen, Jackie Robinson's military service, and references to the Underground Railroad. Mentions of transgender individuals and related rights were stricken from the National Park Service's content on the Stonewall National Monument. How do you erase trans people from Stonewall? And the CDC has removed various public health resources related to LGBTQ+ individuals, including guidance on HIV. Beloveds, we must ask ourselves, what does it mean to light a chalice in this time? What does it mean to carry a flame that was forged in resistance and still burns for justice? The flame isn't magic. It doesn't do the work for us, but it does remind us of the work that we are called to do. In the face of fascism, past or present, it is far too easy to go quietly, to comply without meaning to soften our words, to look away, to tell ourselves it's not that bad. But silence is its own kind of permission. As Unitarian Universalists, we are not here to pre-comply. We are here to resist, to act, to keep this flame alive. We are here to push back, not only as activists or allies, but as people of faith. If we have faith in justice and equity, pluralism and independence and generosity, if we have faith that love is at the center of all things, then we must be a people who reach across when others are being pushed out. Sometimes this will look like protest. It will look like marching, rallying, speaking out, making noise. Sometimes it might look like driving someone across state lines to get the gender-affirming care or immigration services that they need. And beloveds, sometimes it will mean breaking unjust laws because love demands it. Sometimes it will look like lighting a flame and remembering that we are its keepers, that we are people who reach across to offer help. We are people who show up. We are people who can help to light the way. These are moments, beloveds, that test our commitment to the flame. But while it's easy to talk about justice, it's much harder when it risks our safety. It risks our budget. It risks our sense of peace. And doing what is right has never only been about doing what is legal, because moral courage is rarely convenient. Reverend Waitstill Sharp himself once said, "I knew what I was doing was illegal, but I did it because I had no other choice. I owed no honesty to anybody at all if I could save imperiled human lives." He said it as someone who had walked beside refugees, smuggled people across borders, lied to save lives. He understood that integrity sometimes means breaking the rules when the rules themselves are broken. This is the fire that we inherit, not one of politeness, but of fierce, fierce love. This, beloveds, this is what our symbol of the chalice is for. It isn't just a symbol of hope. It is a symbol of resistance, of memory, of solidarity, of shared commitment. It is a symbol of courage in the face of oppression, and we need its light more than ever before. The country needs its light more than ever before. And so starting next week, we'll be changing the words a little bit that we say when we light our chalice here at UUI. Starting next week, when we light the chalice, it will remind us where we come from, who we are, and will encourage us to become who we are called to be. Yes, hope is a piece of that, but it is also much, much bigger. May our chalice's flame always remind us that we carry the legacy of people who risked everything to do what was right. And may we be worthy of that legacy. May it be so. And may we make it so together. Before we move on, I have been made aware that there is a protest happening on April 19th, which is next Saturday from noon to 4. They are hoping it will be bigger than last Saturday's protest. This theme is to shred Project 2025. So please put it on your calendars.
Every month, UUI gives half of the Sunday collection to a cause chosen by our Social Justice Committee. This month, this April, the Share the Plate offering will go to DRAM, which is the Diverse and Revolutionary Unitarian Universalist Multicultural Ministries. DRAM is the oldest and largest Black, Indigenous, and people of color-led organization in our faith. When you give to DRAM, you are investing in the fabric of our faith, in the development of leadership, and in the future of a multicultural, multi-ethnic, multi-generational, Unitarian Universalism that we can believe in. Your donation says yes to living in a world that thrives from our diverse voices and supports an organization that brings authenticity and humanity into our spiritual and religious life. Your giving builds the world we dream about and realizes our values in the larger world. You can give on your smartphone by texting the dollar amount you want to give and the word share to the phone number, which is in the chat and also in your bulletin and on screen. You can also give on our website at uui.org. Here in the sanctuary, the ushers will come around to collect donations. Give what you can with joy and wild abandon, and thank you for your support and your generosity.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Awesome. So I'm Briar Guest, and my pronouns are they, them, and he, him. As someone who attends UUI regularly through Zoom, I was asked to give my perspective on why I pledge and give what I can back to the church. And really, my answer is very simple. I give back to the community because this community quite literally helped save my life. During the COVID lockdowns, my brain and body had fallen completely apart. I didn't know it until years later, but I have schizoaffective disorder, complex PTSD, and autoimmune issues that had started to activate. I was alone here with no family, no local friends, and only coworkers who I wasn't even able to see anymore. I was a pretty broken person. In April 2021, I tried to end my life. I ended up in a psychiatric hospital, and I planned to say what I needed to say just to get out, and so I could try again later. But something different happened. A chaplain came to talk with me, not about religion, but about my values. She asked what I wanted to see in the world and what I thought might help people like me survive. After talking with a little bit, she asked if I had ever heard of Unitarian Universalism. I had a little, but growing up evangelical with religious trauma, I had never looked into it. She told me to look past the word church and see community instead. She said that there were people who believed in kindness, empathy, justice, and love, and I might fit in really well with them. And as part of my safety plan, I promised to just check one out. The day after I was released, I looked online for information. UUI had their Zoom info already online for that Sunday, and Alsos didn't yet. And so the rest of that is history, and UUI became the community I desperately needed to survive. Something extra important to me are our Zoom services, which allow so many of us to be with one another regardless of age, health, disabilities, locations, social bandwidth, mental health, time constraints, and so much more, and to feel that our souls are still connected. After the pandemic started to wane and other organizations were reducing or eliminating their multi-platform options, UUI's commitment to keeping ours going speaks volumes for those of us who needed to know that we're not being abandoned. Right now, in a country working overtime to erase the existence, rights, freedoms, healthcare, and so much more of many whole entire groups of people, community like this matters more than ever. We have to fight like hell for one another. We need to support, protect, and hold in love the most vulnerable among us. During these times, there will be more people who are desperately looking for a lifeline and a refuge, and we can be that for them, just like the church was here for me. But we need to be able to keep the lights on if we want the beacon of hope to shine out. We can't be the safe haven we aspire to be if we're unsupported financially. Continuing to function as a spiritual home is an incredible act of resistance towards hate, and we have to stay afloat to do it. Investing in this amazing community has and will save lives, and that knowledge alone is a huge part of why I give back. Please make your pledge today.
Oh, I don't know about all of you, but today's service is getting to me. Whew. Thanks, Briar. Okay, I'm going to try to get through this without crying. I hadn't even planned to share this, but after hearing about the symbol of the chalice, which I knew had a lot of meaning for me personally, but then hearing a little bit of the deeper meaning today, it made me feel even more connected to a tattoo that I got when I turned 30 a few years ago now. I was a member of this church then. We were going through some turmoil, some changes at that time. I was kind of questioning, like, do I want to stay here at UUI despite all these things happening? But I was turning 30, And I was like, you know, the principles, the values of Unitarian Universalism, they matter to me. Like, that is what matters to me. This community, despite its flaws, despite all the people that maybe have issues with each other from time to time, despite the things that are challenging that we're asked to deal with, like, this place matters. I want to be here. So my one and only tattoo, and my husband thinks I should get more, is of a little tiny chalice on my ankle, but it hurts so bad. So I think that's the one and only tattoo I'll get. So, all right. So now I'm here for the numbers. They aren't all super rosy, but that's okay. So we are entering, this is like the final official day of our pledge campaign, our stewardship drive. And I think most of you know, but just as a reminder, so we do this pledge thing so that we have a kind of an understanding of what to expect for our budgeting for the year, because we're not like getting a big grant from the federal government. I don't think they give us one right now anyway. So we have to help each other. Like, we all contribute a little bit, and we all put into the, you know, the collection plate on a regular basis too, or most of us do if we can, you know, because it's all based on what we can do. Not all of us have the same amount of money as others. We get that. So we all say, okay, this is what we think right now we can give. And we write it down, we document it, and then we're like, okay, now we can budget. We can make our plans. We know how much we can pay our staff. Maybe we can give them raises, which hopefully we can. And we know what we can invest in our programs and what we can pay for our buildings and our grounds. So that's why we pledge, and that's why it's important. So how are we doing? I don't think everybody has pledged yet who can. So that's the first thing I'm going to say. Please pledge if you haven't yet. There are pledge forms in the back of the service at the cakes, with the cakes today. You can also do it online. But right now, as of yesterday, we had 115 pledges totaling $267,381, which puts us at only 63% of our 425,000 goal. It was ambitious, we knew that. It's still real progress, and we are really grateful to everyone who has already pledged. You're helping keep UUI strong and moving forward. Our average pledge this year was a little bit higher. We can go to the next slide. There is still hope. It was a little bit higher than last year. So per household, we had about $2,325 average, which is a little more than $200 per month, if you do it per month, which shows deep commitment to this community. And we know that 43 households who pledged last year haven't yet had a chance to this year. If most of them are able to join us in the next few days, please, please do. We won't just meet last year's total, we'll surpass it. Yay, that's awesome. Raises for our staff. So if you've been meaning to pledge and you just haven't gotten around to it yet, now is the time. Your pledge helps us plan a responsible, values-driven budget, and you can always adjust it later if you need to, if circumstances change. And every pledge matters, no matter the amount, seriously. This is our time to lead, and it is our time to love, clearly. Let's finish strong together. Thank you so much. Oh, my emergency gnomes. Thank you.
Please rise and bow to your spirit as we join together in singing "We Will Rise Together," lyrics on the screen. Rise together, you and I, rise together hand in hand. On we will rise together and held high. We will reach the promised land. Good night, friends, I see a brighter day. Freedom rings for everyone. Go along when we run
Good job, everybody. Please join me now in our chalice extinguishing words, which are on the screen and also in your order of service. And now we extinguish the flame of our chalice, but not the light of understanding, the warmth of compassion, or the fire of commitment. Let us keep those with us till we meet again. Please go in peace.